Hello, my investors. It is I, Tiger Pants, and I am back for a new hybrid for a new competition by the very great man, quite frankly, Genetics. He has made a competition where various hybrids will track down his new Scorpius Rex 2, or Helion, as he calls it. It is a very dangerous hybrid which has human DNA, something I do not condone. I may not be all for hybridizing oneself, as you can clearly see, but humans do not belong inside of dinosaurs, quite frankly. This new hybrid that I have made for this competition will be the greatest hybrid Diagnostic Technologies has produced thus far. As all hybrids start, I shall start with the base of this great hybrid, which is Spinosaurus aegypticus and Pinocchio Rex, quite frankly. I know that Pinocchio Rex has a different name, but I'm just going to call it that because I am lazy, quite frankly. Spinosaurus will make the base shape of the hybrid, and it will mostly look like a Spinosaurus. However, Pinocchio Rex is used for the size of 25 feet long and a weight which is modified by a creature that I will get into later of 420 pounds. Nice. Which is very nice. This hybrid will also have the DNA of the frilled shark for both increased tail strength and cartilaginous bones, which will lighten it up to the 420 pounds I just said. And I shall now get into the genomes of the animals that allow this hybrid to do something incredibly great, but live. Uh, Up first is the Arapaima, which will add incredibly large swim bladders. However, these swim bladders will be on the sail of the hybrid, and instead of filling with normal air, it'll be filled with hydrogen thanks to Clostridium, which is a bacteria that I put in the genome as parasitic did not ban that, unlike bacteria. And you might be thinking, even if these swim bladders filled with hydrogen can lift the hybrid, which I have done the math, it can, quite frankly. How is it supposed to maneuver? Well, the answer to that is the cuttlefish, which will add siphons, which will allow it to shoot out water in directions the hybrid controls. And the cuttlefish will also add chromatophores, which will allow it to change color. And you might be thinking, it has scales. How will the chromatophores adapt to it? Well, the Indominus Rex, the failed hybrid of the fraud Dr. Henry Wu, proves that chromatophores, specifically cuttlefish, which ones can adapt to scales. So I'm taking that as a precedent. This will allow it to mesmerize its target, which has human DNA, which causes it to be attracted to fire. So I can have the hybrid make itself look like it is on fire to distract Helion, just long enough for a lethal blow to be dealt. And the Arapaima, from which the swim bladders were derived, will also beef up the scales to make them slightly more stronger. I I will also be adding the raven for intelligence and the ability to make calculations on how to fly, as that is an ability that birds have, and the ability to be trained by its trainers that I have hired, quite frankly. The final creature that helps with the flying bit is Quetzalcoatlus, which will allow my hybrid to modify one of its fingers into wings, which will have their wingspan of around 20 feet. These alone will not be able to get up the creature. However, combined with the air sex, it will be able to fly, which will give it great maneuverability, quite frankly. And now for the method of attack, which was put to great success with Paimon, my first hybrid, not including myself, quite frankly, with will which it will come from, as I said during the video of Paimon, will be the Jackson Chameleon, Scalyfoot Gastropod, and Gonesdale, quite frankly. Now, I did a rather poor job, unfortunately, of explaining how this method of attack works in the Paimon video, as I was not fully informed. However, I am now far smarter than I was during that time, and I will explain it now. Harpoons made of iron gathered by the vampire finch, which I will also be adding to the genome, and incorporated by the DNA of the scaly foot gastropod, will be formed into little harpoons in a throat sac of this hybrid, which will then be filled via a poison sac, and they, via the hyoid horn of the Jackson chameleon, will be launched through the hollow tongue of the chameleon and out a hole in the tongue, which will be fired like a little dart at Helion. Helion's genome allows him to be very resistant to poison. However, the specific creature used is not immune to the constant venom, and while a normal constant would not be able to kill him, this is a far higher dose and will most likely at least incapacitate him long enough for this hybrid to get a killing blow with its claws or fangs. And now, without further ado, I present the latest and greatest hybrid, Spinosaurus hindenburgi, or Hindenburg as I like to call him. We originally made two of these hybrids, named Amatsu and Narwa, after Monster Hunter. A very great game, quite frankly. These two who were able to create that egg, which we used to make Hindenburg due to budget cuts, which are definitely not caused by my addiction to smoking uranium, which I allegedly have, but I don't. That's actually fake news, quite frankly. And note, the employee who taught Hindenburg to make swastikas on his tail, which I personally made him not do anymore, has been fired, as despite me being a cannibalistic oil tycoon, allegedly, I do not condone Nazism. This will be the greatest submission in the hybrid horrors contest, and he is very scary for the team. And that will be all. And that will be all, my beautiful investors and Parasite Genetics. I can't wait for my hybrid to defeat Helion and gain glory for Tagabet's Technologies. That is all now, my investors. This is Tagabet's Technologies. Signing out.